Japan, 1984. Osaka moves like a river of neon, streets humming, vending machines glowing, shutters clattering down at midnight. People believe order keeps the chaos out. But in the industrial district, past the tracks and warehouses, sits a building that order forgot. An abandoned slaughterhouse, its corrugated iron blistered, its windows filmed with grease and dust, its drains long clogged with a history no one wants to name. It began with rumors, then with names, quietly added to missing persons ledgers in stations that smell of cigarettes and ink. A worker who didn't come home after the night shift, a student who never reached her cram school, a taxi receipt that ended at a dead street, every lead dissolved in the same gray rain. And beneath it all, a colder story thrummed, that the slaughterhouse still fed even after the electricity was cut, even after the last animal screamed. Tonight you will walk the corridors of that place. You will see what the police saw and what they decided the public should never fully know. This is not a tale of one monster, but of a hunger that found a body. Remember, this story is fictional and has never happened in real life. Still, treat what follows with care. Some doors, once opened, never close. It starts with timing. A missing line worker on a rainy Tuesday. 3 days later, a high school senior with a cracked Walkman. A week after that, a delivery man whose scooter is found upright, key still warm. Separate incidents, say the reports, until a young analyst overlays the dates and draws a circle around the slaughterhouse district. The circle does not accuse, it merely insists. Families set up folding tables, tape photographs to chain link fences, pass out flyers smudged by the weather. Mothers phone hospitals and morgues until voices fail. A factory foreman swears his man just stepped out to smoke. A convenience store clerk remembers the student buying instant ramen at 8:42 p.m. The cashier's clock is never wrong, but even perfect clocks can't testify to what waits in alleyways slick with oil. Police call it coincidence at first, then possibility, then a pattern. Patrol cars idle longer outside the industrial block. Officers walk the perimeter and write nothing. No fresh footprints, no tampered locks, no broken windows. Just the feeling of being watched from eyes that buildings should not have. By the time the word serial is whispered in briefings, the briefings are already too late. The line on the map has thickened. The names have too. The slaughterhouse opened in the mid-1950s with a promise of efficiency and cleanliness. Its rails gleamed, its floor drains gulped. Men learned the rhythm of hoists and bolts like a metronome. Then the accidents began. A harness failing when no rust was present, a winch that spun without power, a worker found hanging on a stainless steel hook in a way no living man could lift himself. Inspection reports speak in neutral tones about operator error and unfortunate missteps. Neutral tones cannot disguise dread. One winter, neighbors heard machinery at 3 a.m. when the breakers had been removed. Another summer, the smell of blood spread on a day no animals were processed. A priest blessed the sight. The priest moved away. When the city finally shuttered the building, the padlocks clanged, and no one asked why the echo sounded like breath. Kids dared each other to touch the main door and run. They always ran before their fingers reached the metal. By the 1980s, rust had formed stalactites under the rails. Rain pooled where cattle once stood. The architecture had become a fossil of violence, Drainage, restraint, division, disposal. What a place is built to do leaves an imprint. When that purpose dries up, something else can soak in. October. A neighbor calls about a smell that doesn't belong to autumn. Officers arrive, pry the side door, and meet a wall of air. Thick, sweet, metallic, the way old coins taste if they could rot. Their flashlights slide over peeling paint, dust, rat droppings, and then settle on shapes that light refuses to bless as mere debris. The staging area is not a crime scene, it is a theater. On a rusted table, a row of forearms carefully aligned as if waiting for sleeves. Along a rail, torsos sway almost imperceptibly in the draft, leather straps biting into pale skin. Faces, no, the places where faces should be, are smooth and wrong, like candle wax licked flat. Someone arranged all this, someone who understands choreography better than mercy. The youngest officer runs for the door, makes it as far as the threshold, vomits neatly to the left, returns. Work is a ritual, too. They mark, they photograph, they sketch. Every step a prayer disguised as procedure. The building seems to breathe with them, as though grateful for the company. In the cooler room, symbols bloom on tile in dried brown arcs, circles bisected by vertical cuts, open mouths sketched without teeth, the suggestion of eyes that refuse to see. An old Kanban board bears chalked words: delivery, processing, rendering. Underneath, a new column no factory would list. Offering. Forensics collect fibers that refuse to match any garment in the national database, a waxy residue that is not wax, and a handful of bone dust where no cutting tool marks appear. In a locked drawer, they find Polaroids of the same room from months ago, bodies posed the same way, a calendar day circled again and again. Nights of new moons. On a shelf, a box of masks without openings. On the floor, footprints in a slur of fat and water that stop in the middle of the aisle, as if the wearer evaporated. The evidence room downtown begins to feel like a shrine. Caseboards sprout red string that crisscrosses like veins, leading always back to the slaughterhouse. The only tidy thing in the mess is the pattern. Patterns are a comfort to police. Comfort is dangerous. Neighbors say very little on the record. Off the record, they say plenty. A longshoreman swears he once heard chanting late at night, cadence steady as machinery. A seamstress remembers the angle of a shadow that didn't match the street light. A girl in junior high refused to walk past on her way to school and would take the longer route, arriving late enough to be punished. Her grades fell. She moved away. The teachers called it a disciplinary issue. The building called it gravity. Local papers run small items with big words: grisly, unspeakable, depraved. An editorial asks why the city allowed the structure to stand at all. A letter to the editor insists the slaughterhouse has always been necessary, only the product has changed. At night, cats gather near the loading bay and stare, as cats do at corners where nothing is. The wind through the broken vents sometimes sounds like singing if you are too tired or too suggestible. Many are both. By the time candles and cheap flowers appear near the fence, the neighborhood has already agreed on a rule. Don't look too long. Staring is an invitation. Invitations are accepted. Detective S. was a patient man, the kind who sharpened pencils with a knife and labeled folders in small, neat characters. He did not believe in evil as a force. He believed in schedules and appetite. His notes reflect that. dates, times, supply routes for the factories nearby, the hours when the freight trains sang by. He circled the new moons, yes, but then he underlined the delivery windows for industrial solvents. He believed the answer was human and therefore obtainable. One evening he signed out a flashlight, a camera, and a spare set of gloves. He logged none of it as a solo visit. He was not a reckless man. The security camera at the corner store caught his reflection in the glass at 9:13 p.m., face set, tie loosened. After that, the footage blurs for a second, a smear of static, then nothing. The next morning, his partner found S.'s notebook on the hood of their car. It was open to a page of drawings, not art, not even diagrams, just oval after oval. Faces without openings. Each oval was shaded heavier than the last, as if the pencil feared the white of the paper. The glove compartment held a single mask from the Slaughterhouse, still sealed. The detective's apartment remained tidy. His toothbrush was dry. Disappearance is also a kind of message. It says, "You are now part of the pattern." Pathologists expect to argue with blades, angles, depths, serrations. Here they found little to argue with. The skin where faces should be showed no slicing, no cauterization, no chemical burn. Under magnification, the tissue looked persuaded, as if pores had chosen to close, as if features had retracted under a command the rest of the body did not hear. That is not language science permits, so the reports used other terms. Atypical epidermal smoothing, anomalous collagen alignment. Jargon is a way to look without admitting you have seen. There were other oddities. Trace elements under fingernails that matched ancient tanning pits, not modern industry. Animal fats where no animals had been processed in decades. Microscopic particulates consistent with incense charcoal, the kind used in altars. The blood from different bodies shared a thinness, a watery quality, as if diluted by time itself. None of it made sense until you stopped asking for sense and started asking for story. If a place is built to strip identity, tag, hang, drain, does that purpose end when the last invoice is stamped? Or does the place keep practicing, seeking new ways to finish the old work? The city never posed the question in public. In private, some did, and then slept badly. The final raid was scheduled for a night with no moon. Not for drama, just to deny shadows excuses. Officers went in pairs, radios clipped and tested, batteries new. They moved through the main hall, counting rails under their breath, a habit learned from sites where getting lost is a decision. Someone, no one will agree who, found the circle of candles in the rendering room. Their flames were low and steady despite the draft. In the center, a chair bolted to the floor, straps softened with use. The metal bore fine scratches as if fingernails had tried to invent a language. On the wall behind, a fresh symbol not seen before. Two ovals intersecting to form a third, an anatomy of erasure. The air shifted. Temperatures drop in old buildings at night. That is what air does. But this cold carried intention. Breath plumed. Radios hissed, cracked, went silent. Footsteps became soft as if the floor had thickened. One officer later wrote that the darkness seemed to press on his eardrums until his own heartbeat sounded like a drum at a festival he did not wish to attend. No one admits to hearing a voice. Hearing invites testimony. Testimony invites doubt. They left quickly, leaving the candles to burn down on their own. They were brave to enter. They were wise to leave. The slaughterhouse came down under the bite of excavators 4 years later, its bones stacked and hauled away at sunrise. The ground was graded and given a new name. A distribution center rose, bright and competent, with badge readers and uniforms. On quiet nights, the new workers sometimes feel their ID photos do not quite capture their faces. Cameras are objective after all. The case files migrated to basements and then to archives. Journalists still call retirees for quotes. Everyone remembers the smell, the cold, the doll's mask smoothness where faces should be. No one remembers a single clear suspect. Cults make poor defendants. Hunger makes none. And so the legend persists, not because people love to be afraid, but because the pattern has not ended, only moved. Stories surface from other cities: a storage unit in Nagoya, a bathhouse in Kobe, a cooling room in Sapporo, each with the geometry of arrangement, each with a patience that does not forget. If you ask the map, it will give you coordinates. If you ask the ground, it will give you silence. If you ask the wind at the corner of the old lot, it will carry back the smell of metal and something sweeter. Walk away if you are wise, and if you cannot walk away, at least keep your face turned toward the light.